Again, today's course for our February WorkWave University is Show Your Schedule Some Love. So we're going to bring you now to our agenda of what we're going to cover. So today we want to focus on efficient scheduling with built-in PestPac scheduling solutions. So, some of you may be familiar with this, these tools such as the appointment scheduler and the quick scheduler. We're also going to go through how to reschedule service orders and the change technician tool. We'll explore the setup items and additional features of the VRM and route up module that also that's a benefit to scheduling. So we'll speak upon that. How to empower the field with scheduling capabilities on PestPac Mobile. So what can your technicians do from like a scheduling standpoint on the app? And then dive deep for hidden gems, or a deep dive, we'll say, for hidden gems of scheduling in company setup and employee profile settings. So some things that are, in regards to scheduling within PestPac, different settings that we have, different tools that we have that you guys may not be aware of. We want to show you those.
Now, before we even get into showing you anything scheduling related, we always like to make it a point for anything schedule related, anything routing related, anything getting to and from the customer related, to go over the geocoding utility in PestPac first. So before you can get properly to and fro any one of these customers, you're going to need to make sure that you know exactly where they are at. So in PestPac, in the menus tools, in the data update utilities, you have this beauty called the geocoding utility. Now, I listed out here just off the top of my head when making this slide the areas of PestPac when we think about scheduling that would be impacted by having the correct address on the customer. And there we go. So pretty much just about everything we're going to touch on today. The quick scheduler, the appointment scheduler, notification lists for reaching out to customers, directions on the mobile for being able to get there, using the visual route manager module or the route optimization module. We have so many of them that are impacted by making sure that you have the correct address, the correct latitude and longitude for the customers. So with this utility, you are actually able to come into it at any time, like my screenshot on the right-hand side shows at the top. And it's actually going to kind of almost go in order of importance with those 4 boxes: locations with active recurring services, locations with recently completed services, all the active people, and all locations in general, even the inactive. And honestly, from Katie and I working with this a lot, between helping customers with VRM or route op as module onboardings, really when you work from the left box down across, one, you're going in order of importance, but two, you're also going in an order where as you move along, it's actually going to dwindle down the numbers in the upcoming boxes. So all active locations would include locations with active service setups. Now you can click the geocode button to have the system take a stab at the addresses that you have in presently. It's possible maybe when you initially added them, they weren't in the maps just yet, and it will come up with the results on the bottom. Anyone who still needs to be tweaked a little bit can be fixed on the map. And it's really great too, because it does a lot of times have it almost, it's like it's 99.9% sure, and you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, that's where it is. And you'll see in the lower right screenshot, it actually does give you the ability to just say, okay, good, save. I'm confirming that I am okay with this is where it's at. Well, you can move it, you can tweak it, you can jump over to the location and actually make full adjustments to the customer's address.
Yep. And to just add on to what Ryan's saying, before we move on to our next area that we want to focus on today, we all have customers where it might be like a new construction or you can't find it. In regards to routing, especially, I speak to route op because I implement a lot on route op and even VRM. If, it doesn't seem right, even if you move the plotter or, you can't find the address, what you can do is pull up Google Maps and find an address that's close by and take that latitude and longitude and force it into the edit location screen. So in the screenshot that Ryan has where it says latitude and longitude of 0 right now, you could go into Google Maps, plug in an address close by, you'd right click on that red little plotter like we see here, and it'll say what's here, and then it'll show you the latitude and longitude. You'd fill that in here and then check the do not read geocode checkbox and save. And the reason why you want to check the do not read geocode is so that if another user were to go in and edit that location down the road and save it, it's not going to undo the latitude and longitude. So that's definitely a common scenario I've seen multiple times where you just can't find the exact address or it's not pulling it up in Google. Just go ahead and find something that's nearby, like a landmark.
Yeah, one of the things that has not slowed down over this past year is definitely new construction. So
Right.
there is tons of customers I talk to where they're like, it's a brandy new development down the road. Like it's not in there at all. If you know the latitude and longitude, you can go ahead and you can plug it on in. You can even use the 7-Eleven on the corner, the gas station up the block, really anything that's like right there. That's really, you need to get the tech there.
Right. Awesome. So now we're going to talk about some built-in tools that we have. So the first one that we want to focus on is our appointment scheduler. So the appointment scheduler is going to allow you to see scheduled and unscheduled orders together on one customizable calendar. And the reason why we say one customizable calendar, which that's going to be part of our hidden gems, is that you can customize it for each employee that's going to be using that screen. So each user can see different options and different default options that they want to set. The second built-in tool is our quick scheduler. So quick scheduler is really meant for like initial jobs, one-time callback jobs, rescheduled service orders. It's at a glance view. So it'll show you, hey, what's already scheduled out there within this date range where I have a technician that's close by. So you don't want a technician going out and servicing a customer's property that's calling in on the phone that's 50 miles away from customers that are already scheduled on that day. So that's where the quick scheduler is going to come in handy for you.
And we'll have hidden gems on that one too, because
Yep.
just like the appointment scheduler, that also exists in your employee profile.
Yes. So then we have reschedule service orders utility, and this allows you to bulk move service orders in a pinch. You can move them forward in a day. So, think about the days where you do, or if you're a company that does exterior service and it's going to rain or it's going to snow. Now we're getting all the snow here where we are on the East Coast. And we want to take work from a day and move it to another day that the technician has free. That's where the reschedule service order utility can help you. And then the last one is the change technician utility. So this one's great for reallocating service setups, open orders, renewals, um, among technicians in the event of like vacation or life events, or a technician resigns or they get fired, or you just have more work assigned to one technician than to another, and you want to kind of redistribute the workload. That's what the change technician utility is for. You can even use it if you're a company that right now you don't have technicians assigned to setups or orders. You can use that utility to say grab everything that doesn't have a technician assigned and assign it to X technician. And you can do it multiple times. And Ryan and I are going to show you that today.
That we are. So let's take a dive right on into Ryan's database for my company, Ambush Bug. And now we're going to go ahead and kind of go through some of all four of those items that we were just speaking about there. So
Yes.
first spot up here with that appointment scheduler, let's go and jump right to it here on the calendar.
Yeah, so right, let's show them. There's two places you could get to the appointment scheduler. Ryan clicked on the left-hand side in gray, but you can also go to the menu drop down at the top, and you can go to service and scheduling, and you can also access it through here. So it really just is preference. For me, I just go to the side toolbar there and go and click on the quick schedule. I'm sorry, the appointment scheduler, not the quick scheduler. So, with the appointment scheduler, um, I had stuff out here for Catherine. So let's just say, yeah, go to A slot, Ryan. There we go. I knew I built some stuff out in here. So just be patient with us because this is a test database. I know clearly your databases are going to be filled with appointments for all of your technicians. But some cool things about this, if you look at it, these are orders that I have assigned to myself, right? So if Ryan can hover over one of my orders and I could see additional information about it. You can see it gives me the date, the time, the tech. Um, it would give me drive time if I was utilizing our route optimization module. It gives me like any instructions that I have on the account. I can also double click this open and I can make changes to the order. So one of the things I want to show you, at the top you have some blue hyperlinks. I can edit the order. And if I edit the order, it's going to drill me into that specific order on the location. And then I can adjust whatever fields I need to in here and I'd make sure I click edit and then I would save it. Going back to that appointment scheduler, double clicking on it, another cool thing at the top is that you have the option to show color by distance. So when I click on that, it's going to update all of these orders. And what it's telling me, it's based upon the colors of the rainbow. So just think like Roy G. Biv. So red being the closest, right, Ryan? And violet being the furthest away.
Yeah, and the colors are something that we're going to touch on in those hidden gems as well, because setting up how the color hue actually changes is based upon the number of miles away
Right.
from your given target. So our given target here, the one we clicked on, is going to be in red, and it's going to be like a graded scale, so that way it's a visual cue as to, oh great, here's an opening, let's move the order there, as opposed to, oh gosh, that opening, we need that. They need that to get from those two orders. This is not an appropriate spot to just slide this order on over to.
Right. It gives me an idea of everything that I've scheduled out there for my technicians. Does it make sense where it is? So you could see the three last appointments for today are in orange. They're all in the same town. They're all in the same area. So that's why they're all showing the same color. So now when I go back to it, it reverted back, which is fine, Ryan. We can keep it as is. I also wanted to point out some cool like benefits to this. In my services lookup table, I went ahead and defined each service code to have their own color. So you can see like my Centricon service is in teal. I have my follow-up service in this royal blue. And then I have like my red and my black service. What a lot of companies do, which I think is cool, it's a great idea, and it does help from a scheduling standpoint, is if you're going to go in and let's just say you're going to call these customers to confirm that they want service, you can then change the color of the service. So let's just say Ryan calls Jess, who is his wife, and she says, yeah, great, 10 o'clock works today. I could go ahead and change that color. So internally, I could say, okay, anything that I've confirmed with the client for the tech to go out, I'm going to change to be in green and then save it. So then from a visual standpoint, when you look at this appointment scheduler, everything that's in green, I know that they're confirmed appointments and they're good to go. Anything else that's still in the set colors that I defined from the services table are not. So I know that I still need to reach out to those customers. Ideally, I would be doing that a day or two before. But just a little tip and trick that I've seen be successful with a lot of users within PestPac.
Ditto.
Um, yeah, and so kind of moving along, I wanted to show you on the left-hand side, you have your calendar. It's set to today. You could go ahead and change that to whatever date you want to look at. Um, on the underneath that, I can select all technicians. I can also narrow down by specific branches. So right now it says all branches, but I can drop that down and just choose a branch and hit select. I have quick search at the bottom left, and that allows me to search for a customer if I wanted to try to find somebody on here.
And now you'll note too that right now, presently, we're looking at one day and
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at multiple technicians for that one day. So again, another one, stay tuned towards the end for the hidden gems, because in the profile settings, you get to decide whether you want to look at a single day, multiple technicians, or multiple technicians for a single day. Like you can
Right.
do it either way. Like this could
Yeah.
be Monday through Saturday right here, but I'm only looking at it for Catherine.
Yeah. So to Ryan's point, Ryan, if you click on my name and highlight it in red at the top there, I can then there's a gold tech button at the top right here. If I click on tech, it's just going to show work for me for multiple days. And like Ryan said, as part of our hidden gems, this is going to be a profile setting that will show you of how you can configure this the way that you want it to be and how you want it to be defaulted once you come to this screen. I find a lot of companies want to say one single day for multiple technicians as far as scheduling goes, because they want to see what technicians have availability versus who's kind of jam packed for that week. But you can go back and forth with this. If he hits back on technician, it's going to revert back to just what we looked at. Some other things that I want to talk about in this screen is time block while we're up there at the top. So time blocks are for like paid time off, for holidays, if a technician is sick, if they have a doctor's appointment. So you would fill that information in. You could pull in multiple technicians. So if you have like a weekly meeting with the technicians or even a monthly meeting, you could define the day of the week. So maybe it's every Wednesday. You would do a starting date and you would pull in all the technicians, let's just say. And then you would do a starting date of whatever first Wednesday. And then I tell customers for the end date, just put like a crazy year, like put 2045 or something insane. And then you would put your start time as, all right, it's going to go from 9 to 10. You could put a
We're
reason
not
as
taking
to,
them off that long. We're gonna do 9 to 9:30. They can get out in the field after that.
you put a reason there. You could just put like, team meeting. And then I want to talk about at the bottom real quick. The routing information is specifically pertaining to our customers that have route op. So we're going to talk about like some cool things about route op and benefits of having route op, even if you currently don't have it. But as far as routing goes and route op, you could fill in the address here and route op would respect that information. So if you wanted the technician, if he usually starts from home, but on this particular day you wanted route up to optimize him from the office, you would fill in the office address at the bottom here. Okay, so then we would add that, and then it would add this team meeting starting today, every Wednesday. It'll tell you if there's anything that's already conflicting, like if you already have orders out there or time blocks, and you have the option to save anyways and override. So a time block can override a work order. An order cannot override a time block. And then we do have different slots at the top, which A, B, and C, and again, hidden gems, we'll go through that in profile settings real quick, just so you can see. You can set up different time windows. That's all that it is.
Yeah,
And
depending upon what hours of the day you as an office employee actually work, you might need to see different slots of the day, and you might need to be able to change through them. So instead of having to see the whole day, you'll have those there. So we'll show you in the hidden gems where you can actually go into your profile and adjust what you're seeing in slot A, B, and C here.
yep. And then the last option on this screen I want to talk about is unscheduled, tech only, date only, and tech end date. So in the instance where you don't have, like Ryan, you could see when he clicked on unscheduled, there's a bunch of work orders that are sitting up there. So Ryan, just if you hover over one of those, it'll tell us what pieces of information are missing. So in this case, it has a work date, but it doesn't have a duration. I don't think that it has a technician either. Does it have a
If I
technician, Ryan?
double click it and it comes on up, it's missing a tech and it's also missing a
A
actual
work
work
time
time.
and a duration. So it only has a work date. So when it just has a work date, it's considered unscheduled. It's still going to generate the order. If you were to run a report in PestPac, this order would pull up, but it's technically not scheduled in PestPac size. So what you could
It
do,
needs, and really, Katie, too, if you think about it, unscheduled to me has always meant it doesn't have the three things it needs to visually plot here.
correct.
Like, if you're missing either the date, the time, or the technician, how would PestPac show it to you here?
Correct. So like Ryan did, he clicked on where the address is, right? And it highlighted it in gray. And then you can just look at an available spot that's open for whatever technician and double click the tech and the time that you want to plot this appointment. So
And
Ryan will
as
just
I'm
show you
moving,
one of them.
and again, as you see too, as we're moving the cursor around here, there's a line following along with me. It's not a double click here. It's not a drag and drop. If you want to plot one of the unscheduled orders from this bucket over here onto the calendar, it's more so like a fountain pen. You're going to click on it once to highlight it, and it's going to come along with you in the cursor here. So if I go ahead and plot on down, now I can go ahead and confirm the move and update any pieces of information it may need, like a duration.
And save that. And then again, not to you have tech only, date only, and tech end date. So it's saying that it has only those pieces of information. So you would do the same thing, kind of go through. They're all considered technically unscheduled, and then plot them where they should be on the appointment scheduler. So those
And
are
the
some
first
cool
two are
things.
like more for the month overall, and the second two are more for that particular day. As you'll see, when you have one of them selected, it will tell you what criteria it's actually looking at.
Yes, perfect. So that's the appointment scheduler. The next one that we want to show you is the quick scheduler, which is for those like one-time calls, initial calls, callbacks, reschedules. So that you're going to access through a work order. It could be through an existing order on the location like we have here, or I can click on the gold service order button and do it from there. But it is the little calendar icon to the right of the work date field. So where Ryan's pointing his cursor right now, if he goes ahead, you can either click into the order and drill into it if you need to see more information, or you could just click it like Ryan did. So if you look and say on here, um, same kind of thing. You have the dates at the top. It's showing me how many days out it's pulling from, and that's again from our profile settings. It's looking at latitude and longitude and the distance increment of 2 miles apart as far as like the threshold. I have my technicians on the left-hand side. I can choose all of them or I can choose two, and that's why B. Gordon is highlighted because I have him highlighted on the left-hand side. But what I want you guys to really focus on is the top right, this legend. So with this legend, in your profile settings, you can either have this like pretty colorful legend, or you can have um, red, I'm sorry, what is it,
Red, yellow,
Ryan?
yeah, red, yellow,
Red, yellow,
green.
green. Sorry,
Yeah,
blanked for a moment.
like pretty much like a yes, like a maybe it's kind of close, or a no, this is way far away, or
Right.
having the more they call it a gradient color scaling here.
Yes. So when you're looking at this and you have the customer on the phone and they live on Brick Boulevard in Brick, New Jersey, ideally I want to see which technician is going to be close by to that address within the date range they're asking. So I'm going to be looking at the colors based upon the miles from Target in the legend.
Yep.
So
And it looks like if we want to
yeah,
keep it good, Katie, then yeah, we should be giving it to the admin user because they have two jobs. So now I can give the customer, hey, we'll be in your area Friday or Saturday. Which one would you like? And, we could say it's that tech admin that you like. And we can go ahead and decide which one with the customer right on the phone, right then and there.
yeah. So you double click. So Ryan's going to double click. It's going to open up a box. You're going to confirm all the information it's filling in. And then once you save it, and then you'll see it changed it to orange. When I close this box out, it now updates the information within the work order. So it
And that
updated the
icon, just
time,
to Katie's
duration.
point, like it really does exist pretty much everywhere the workdate field is. So anywhere where it is, you're going to have that little icon.
Yes. So that is the quick scheduler. And again, Ryan and I will show you towards the end of today's session those little hidden gems of what where you can set up the look and feel of it through the profile settings.
And that's all good for managing like the intraday, taking care of like, the one or two orders moving around, the new customers calling in. But what happens if we got to make some big moves? What happens if we need to, in for any emergency reason, go ahead and take care of just moving orders from one place to another. Katie, where would I go to take care of that?
So to do that, you're going to go to menu and then service and scheduling. And then the last option under scheduling is reschedule service orders. So on here, you can see I have my selection criteria and I can narrow down by specific information. I could just look for one technician. I typically just do beginning and ending work date. So if I wanted to take work, let's just say, why don't we use the 11th, being I already had work scheduled on there,
Cool. So
and
we'll
maybe
say
just
something
narrow it
something
down for
came up,
Catherine.
right?
Right, so narrow it down to technician Catherine, me. And for those of you that know me by Katie, my real name's Catherine. It's too formal for me though, so I don't go by that.
That's when she's in trouble. We call her
Yeah.
Catherine.
Um, so, and at the bottom, you can say like work that's scheduled, unscheduled, or both, one time versus reoccurring, complete versus incomplete. I usually just leave it set to both. And then I use the magnifying glass at the top right, and it's going to pull up all orders that are assigned to me. So what's cool about this is I can, of course, go through and update, my work dates individually, my work time, my duration, all of that information. Or at the top, I can say advance all work dates by X amount of days. So typically, I'll be honest with you, I'll have another screen open looking at my appointment scheduler to see what day I have available next, because I don't want to push I don't want to push this workout to tomorrow when tomorrow I know I already have a full day, if that's the case. So I might want to cross-reference my appointment scheduler and see what day I have available to move it, to keep it to me. If I want to move it to another technician, you can advance the day. So Ryan, hit go. And then you would just go through and you can see where it says Tech 1 Catherine. I could change it to a different technician and then copy it down. So you'll see when Ryan filled in advance all work dates by 2 days, and now updated it from the 11th to the 13th.
Yeah. Today being Thursday, Tech had something come up. They're
Now he's
available
going to
to
work
do the jobs
Saturday.
on Saturday. Now we're gonna bulk move them all over to Saturday.
Yes, and when you hit done, if there is any type of conflict, it is going to let you know. So if the technician already has stuff scheduled during that day or the times that you filled in, it will let you know like, hey, you can't do this. You have a conflict. You already have something scheduled then. So that's why I said it's a good idea to maybe have another tab open with the appointment scheduler so you can see what days he or she is available. So Ryan, if you go back to the appointment scheduler now and we hop on over to the 13th, we should be able to see those orders move to the 13th now. There we go. So it's just a
Beautiful.
quick little tool to use if you want to bulk move. And now to kind of segue into um, our next tool that we have, our change technician utility. This is also another tool that you can use to bulk move orders. But the use case scenario is more so for, like I said, like tech turnover, reallocating work or redistributing work, where you might have a technician that has, you know, 300 jobs for the month versus another technician that's a senior tech that only has 150, and you want the workload to be a little more evenly spread out, or take some of that workload off of that technician that has 300 and some jobs for the month. So Ryan went to menu, tools, and data update tools. And then within here, the third option down is change technicians. So you'll see you have a lot to choose from as far as selection criteria. Old technician, if we drop that down, you can either, so let's just use the scenario. You have a technician that is inactive. You did not make them an inactive tech yet. They left your company. So you could pull in that technician as the old one, and then the new technician would be who you want to reallocate to. Like, you want to take CSNO's work, whether it's setups, orders, renewals, and reassign it to this new technician. Starting and ending work date below that pertains to work orders that you want to update. So if you don't want to update orders that are out there, you're not going to fill in those fields. But just some cool things about this that I like is you might not say, well, take everything from this one tech and assign it to this new tech. It may be based upon like territories or certain cities. So in that case, that's where you can go in and say, all right, let me move work from C Snow to J Gray based upon these 3 zip codes. And you would separate them by a comma. You also have to make sure you check the box at the bottom left that says look in fields tech 1. Or if they are a second technician as well, you want to make sure you're checking that as well.
You're pretty much asking the system, hey, take this criteria here, but this is the field I want you to check that criteria against in any of these items, anything from orders to setups to renewals and such.
Yeah, and you can even drill down as far as the order type. Do you just want billable orders? Do you want everything as it's defaulted within here? Um, the other cool thing that I mentioned is under the old technician, Ryan, if you clear out C Snow, if we back that out and we go all the way down to the bottom and right click, there is a blank. So as I mentioned, like if you are a company that right now you don't have technicians assigned, but you should, you can say grab everything that doesn't have a technician assigned in this area, in this city or this zip code or this route and assign it to this technician.
Yep. And I
And
like
then,
this too
yeah,
because it might be maybe not even just one pass, like Katie's saying. Like if you're doing it and it's let's take everything that's blank and you have 9 zip codes and 3 technicians, well then you're taking 3 passes at it, blank each one of the new technicians and 3 zip codes apiece. Go
yeah,
ahead and spread that love on out.
yep. So those are our built-in tools that we have. Now we want to we're going to go back to our PowerPoint slide here. We want to talk about some additional modules that we have that are not built-in tools within PestPac, but are truly beneficial modules for scheduling within PestPac. So our
Alright.
next one is going to talk about the VRM and then route up. So I'm going to have Ryan go through the VRM and then I will touch upon some cool things about the route optimization module.
All right. So first up, VRM. So what this module is a high level, is it loads service orders and service setups onto a map to visually see if the routes are optimal and allows to update technicians, setup schedules, and orders all in mass. Now, the route optimization module, this uses a proprietary algorithm to help schedule service orders in minutes instead of hours, all while respecting technician schedules and specific customer scheduling constraints.
Right. So these two don't talk to each other. They're two completely separate modules. You know, they're both add-on modules. So if these are modules that you're interested in, um, I first recommend like checking out the community site to see if it's a module that fits your business needs, and then from there you can reach out to your account manager as far as pricing goes.
And RouteOp does have a very nice community presence. It has its whole own resource hub, which starts off with pretty much a very nice overview video done by Katie about like pretty much like what you're going to get here with RouteOp and what you can expect and what you can look forward to in the setup and the usage. Same goes for VRM. VRM has a slew of bite-sized tutorials to help you along with both setup and initial acclimation as well as continued usage. So the first one up we wanted to mention today when we're talking about showing your schedule some love is the visual route manager. So some of you out there might have it, some of you out there might have heard of it, and for some of you this might be your first time. But with this module, this actually exists outside of PestPac in a separate site that you log into. The beauty there is that all of your work done about changing anything with the schedules, whether it be open orders or the actual recurring services themselves, is all project based. You create projects and none of the changes actually take place in PestPac until you commit that project. So we wanted to lay out the 3 project types for you so that you can kind of understand this a little bit deeper. And honestly, sometimes I do see a lot of companies, they've been using it for one for so long that Maybe the new person only ever learned the one type of project type and was never really clear as to what the other ones could offer them. So the first one up, Katie and I both use this one a lot in helping customers out with their schedules for upcoming months, like the pre-planning and the schedule allocation. Very much often too, sometimes, we're using that change technician tool and some of the other features that we've already showcased. But this one is definitely a biggie if the customer has the module. A service setup project type will actually update the schedule types and assign technicians with a straightforward lasso tool to geographically create and manage territories. So if we notice here on this one screenshot, all these little pin dots here, all these different little icons, those aren't open orders. Those are the actual customers and their recurring service. So I have no problem with a cute little lasso tool in it to go ahead and group together a bunch of them that might be over the bridge. I don't want to go back and forth over that ridiculously tolled bridge going from Jersey into New York multiple times a week, multiple times a month. So what if I could get all these different colored people dot wise up here? See, there's orange, this means that they're all different schedule types, possibly assigned to different technicians. So I can lasso them all together in a VRM project, put them all on the same schedule, put them all in the same technician. Now I'm only eating maybe $50 a week in tolls just to go through and come back. The other one to think about when planning, when trying to show your schedule overall some love, not just intra-month, but in actually planning and grooming it and giving it the proper mani and pedi it deserves, is there's an invoice project type. This one I feel like is probably like the least looked at, but is definitely awesome for some business valuation and just some almost kind of scheduled to actual view. An invoice project will actually, all the pin dots on the map will be where the order completed in date and time. So order was originally for Tuesday at 3 o'clock. That's what you had it on the schedule for. That's what you reported on that day for. But in all actuality, it really wound up getting rescheduled, moved a few days over, and now it's happening at a different time. And that worked because that order was completed then, and that date and time were locked in on that order in that order's invoice. So an invoice project is actually looking at the dates and the technicians on the invoices. So where that order actually crossed the finish line. Did you have a really awesome month and you're a pretty monthly company? You want to do it again? You can create an invoice project to take a look at those invoices and actually have it impact and update the schedule types and the technicians in the service setups. And lastly, the ever popular month-to-month usage of the service order project type, but it is not just for month to month. We go through this one and we're able to go through and actually utilize this one to look at all of the open orders on the map. We can lasso them all together. We can change them to different texts and different work dates. But there is a feature at the end of that project to actually have those changes bleed back to the service setups and also update their schedules and technicians for future months.
All right, so now let's talk about the route up respect is what we called it, this setup. So whereas the visual route manager is more of a manual, you're deciding which schedules they should be on based upon you looking at the map or what work dates they should be on. Route up is looking at a number of things. So you're setting up a bunch of rules. You're setting up a workday calendar for each tech or a group of technicians to determine where they're starting and ending each day, how many hours of work they have to work in a day. How many hours you want route up to optimize. Route up does respect time blocks. So I did mention when we went through time blocks on the appointment scheduler, the routing information at the bottom. So, just as an example, if your technician, his workday calendar is set from 8 to 5, but he has a doctor's appointment from 12 to 2, and you fill that in the time block at the bottom, if you wanted to put the address of the doctor's office, route up, if it has jobs that are close by to the address of the doctor's office, it'll try to optimize around that, which is nice. Anything that's in red when you're going through setup is required for route op. So just some of the cool things about route up is that you can customize it for each individual technician. The workday calendar is their typical day. Anything outside of that typical day, like if you have customers that have special scheduling constraints, they have certain times or time windows or set days, you can define that within their individual service setup. So if we click on the next slide here, here are some other tools that it respects. So skills. So if you are a company that is currently utilizing skill sets for your technicians, it's going to respect that. So when you're optimizing, and let's just say you're optimizing work between technicians, and technician A, can only has a skill set of pest control, and technician B can only do termite work, then it's not going to assign any pest control work to the termite guy, and vice versa.
I also like this one too, Katie, for like even sometimes like a little bit of like certain licenses they might have. Like I know in my database, like in the snapshot here, I have like wildlife, right? So could be licenses, could be territorial, like certain areas that they have a certain license to operate in. And I like this because this is a feature that you can just turn on in the company setup, and then bam, you have a skills lookup table. You can add them in there, and then you can turn around in the employee and just assign them to them or to the location, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and with route up, I didn't mention there's three parts to route up, right? We have our dynamic planner, which is going to be you're optimizing all of your orders for a month typically. And that's what we're looking at right here on the right hand side that Ryan's showing. This is kind of pulling from our test database, but just for those of you that don't know anything about RoutUp or not using it, this is kind of how it would load. You have two different options. When you run it for the monthly optimization tool, it's going to tell you based upon rules that you set up, your configuration, any special constraints that you have, this is the order and these are the days that it's putting them on. And then before you commit, you have the option to view all of this on a map. So it's nice to visually say, okay, well, where did it place those orders? And geographically, does it make sense? You can also keep the work assigned to the current technicians, or you can let the work move between technicians. You can do a mix of of both of those. So you might have technicians that you want to run an optimization for and say, you know what, I want to run this for Johnny for the month of March, for the entire month of March, and that's it. I want to let RoutUp move it around, where it sees it fits best based upon rules and configurations. But then for these other two technicians, I might want to, create an optimization for them for March and let the work move between them. So that's the dynamic planner. Then you have your best fit, which would be utilized for incoming calls. So think about, you have the quick scheduler, but think about, you have customer calling in on the phone and you want to be able to see, all right, which technician, which day, which time window is available for us to offer this customer on the fly. And that's what best fit's going to do for you. And then your single day optimization is going to be for, hey, I want to manually build out a day for this technician, and I just want RoutUp to put it in a better driving order for me. That's what the single day optimization tool does. So for those of you that don't have RoutUp and are looking for like another scheduling tool that's going to make their routes most optimal, you could take a look at the community site to get more information on the route optimization module.
Katie made a lot of great resources in there for it. She put in a lot of good work. So definitely check them out. I love the
Thanks, Ryan.
guidebook, especially Katie too. So like anyone who's just getting acclimated to RouteOp, when you go to RouteOp's resource hub in community, one of the first things up in it is a downloadable PDF that takes you through setup and the usage of all three tools of RouteOp, like Katie just described.
Yeah, it's
And
a workbook, a 44-page workbook.
and it pairs so well with the skills. That's why I like that you put these two together on the slide, because I've had customers that I've taken them through route up onboarding. We got to the dynamic planner. We looked at the original view like this. Everything was reachable, no unreachables. Looked great. We were about to wrap up the call. So it's like, all right, let's show you the new view just so you get a feel for this one too. And when we looked at everything on the map, they said, well, why is that technician over in this state? That technician doesn't have a license for that state. Uh-oh. Turn back around, we implemented some skills, refreshed the optimization, easy peasy, problem solved.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving on from our two additional scheduling tools of the VRM and route optimization, Ryan's going to touch upon scheduling on the mobile app.
Now, the mobile app I love because it's very versatile despite being something that is for the end user. So, meaning that you only see orders assigned to you, you only see leads assigned to you. However, if you're an owner operator, awesome. If you're a manager, great. If you're empowered technicians that can make those changes, excellent. And also, if you're an office that doesn't want them to do any of those things to avoid the schedule that you painstakingly put into place, possibly with any one of the excellent tools we've been going over so far, you want to make sure that they don't have the access to do these things and to pull that access on out. So to cover first here, we've got directions to the appointments. So you instantly, with that little Ouija icon, the map pin icon here, looks like a Ouija board piece. That one would launch the maps on your mobile device. So if you have iOS or Android, you're going to get the appropriate map. You're also going to be able to call or email or send that pre-canned email notification, or if you have call ahead on, text notification off to the customer to let them know you're en route. So I can call them, I can email them, and if I've set up notifications from the desktop side, I can shoot them a notification. You do also get real-time notifications to the technicians of any schedule updates. The technicians would receive a gray bar down here letting them know they have a notification. So if they're in the middle of a job, they can check it later. And those notifications would be in their main menu in the upper left. You can manage scheduled leads on the mobile app. They would appear similar to the order cards shown here. And as long as it had a date and it had an employee who had a mobile app license assigned to it, they would be able to work that lead, reschedule it if needed, complete it as won or as lost, and be able to add notes to it, put on notes and comments as well as any attachments. So, even that new work that is not ready to be scheduled just yet, well, you can get it there by getting someone out there to finish up that lead. They finish up that lead. If they're an empowered salesperson or salesperson slash technician, the mobile app does have the access from the main menu in it to create new customers and create new orders. So the technicians can do both on the mobile app, even if it is primarily a salesperson. So presently, you might have set the accesses for your technicians a while ago. You might have had one mindset for them. They might have been doing on that present course, but just because it's the way something's always been done doesn't mean that it's not something that could get a look over. The accesses for these employees and the technicians that use the mobile app, that is all right in their access template. It's the last two sections on the lower left. So they'll also be able to, from here, if the access is given to them, review upcoming appointments from the calendar down below. The access that you give them, if they can see future orders, they'll see till the end of the month. If they have show future orders down below, they'll see then all the way as far forward as they have orders assigned. If neither are checked, they're just going to see today and tomorrow's work, which isn't so bad. I mean, just today and tomorrow, and I don't have to, necessarily start putting, too much thought into what's happening 3, 4, 5 days out. Sounds like a great thing. Now, the technician's access that they have here also does give them the ability, if you want them to be able to reschedule those orders or those leads. This is something that is access driven. So if you don't want any rescheduling of the orders by the technicians and you want the office to primarily handle it, you can remove it. If you don't want them to see forward too much because the office is handling the scheduling and they shouldn't, just worry about what you got to do, fine. That kind of access can be pulled. The technicians can also complete orders as not serviced if a customer refused service. So that is an access that can help, because then instead of leaving an order open in which it would have to be rescheduled, you can have proper documentation of the not completed order, and the office would be able to bring up that customer and get another order on the board. Now, from the mobile app standpoint, those are just alone, those are some nice hidden gems, because we always get in such a mindset of let's get out there, let's complete the job, let's log the stuff, let's go. But everything we just talked about right there for the mobile app is pretty much almost all stuff that exists right at that first page, like barely even going into the order. So a lot of times the stuff that we're timing in and we're kind of almost, giving a glance to and moving right on to actually servicing.
All right. So now we have our hidden gems that Brian and I have been talking about this whole time. So some of them are pulling from company setup and or profile options. So let's start off with company setup. So under menu settings, company setup, and general options, there is our additional features tab. And so that's the little one under there for additional features. It's at the bottom left there where we show the appointment scheduler. So on our appointment scheduler, we were just seeing service orders and unscheduled orders, right, that didn't have those 4 fields filled in. However, you do have where you can include sales leads, invoices, and projected service setups. So what's nice about that is if you want to be able to visually see before you generate for each month what you have upcoming. So let's just say you haven't generated yet for March, which you would ideally be doing towards the end of this month. If you turn this option on in your company's setup options and save it, when I go to March on my calendar, on my appointment scheduler, it's going to show an SS to the left of those orders,
And they're
which
like
is to those
transparent
setups.
too. They're
Yes.
they're like they're kind of like faded out. So I always joke and say that they're the ghosts of orders to come. So they're like little phantoms on your calendar. But I mean, if you're looking at your calendar and it's the 28th of the month and you're talking to a customer and you haven't generated yet, they're trying to schedule the first week of next month with you. Well, at least you know relatively where those orders, when they do generate, are going to land.
Right. And the other one that's in here that I wanted to point out is the plot unscheduled appointments. So if you turn that on, you could see ours are plot unscheduled appointments at 6 a.m. That's what it'll do. It'll put everything. So you'd want to pick a time that's outside of your normal business hours, either an early time or a later time in the day, like maybe 7 o'clock at night or 6 o'clock at night.
I find this one very useful for the companies that have specific dates, have specific technicians, but not necessarily specific times.
Mhm.
Because generally, then without this on, they're having to go over and look at the unscheduled buckets on the right hand side and dig through those. With this on, almost like lined up at the starting line for the day for each technician will be these unscheduled orders.
Yes. Yep. So it's visually easy to kind of pick them out and say. So now the next two screenshots that we're looking at where it says appointment preferences and appointment scheduler preferences, this is for each individual user under their profile settings. So for profile, there's 2 spots that you can access profile. If you're going to be setting up each individual user and their own profile and not themselves, then you would access that through menu settings, lookup tables, and then employees. And then within the employee themselves, that's where you can change these settings within there. Or if you're going to be, you're going to have them log into PestPac because they're a desktop user, at the top right of PestPac, Ryan, we might want to show them just so that they know. If
Right
you
by the
pop back
log
on
out
over.
part. Yep. I will bring that up presently. And action.
There we go. So where it says Ryan, he can do profile from there as well. So when he clicks on profile, under user preferences, you would go to the appointment section. And this is kind of where we took those screenshots from. So you can
All of
customize
it.
it. Yeah, all of
It's a
this. You could
lot. Yeah.
say, do you want them to be able to use the quick scheduler? In what order do you want to see the technicians?
This is just for the quick scheduler
Yes.
here. So like the quick scheduler itself, that pop out window has its own, because I mean, you got to think if you're urban or suburban, a 1 mile difference in the city is catastrophic. You know, in the middle of the farmland, 10 miles ain't no thing. So it really changes up depending upon where you are, and you get to edit this. So if you have multiple branches in urban and suburban and all different areas, the employees in those appropriate areas could set their quick schedulers accordingly.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can say you can go in and like the common scheduler preferences, that's where you saw when we went to the appointment scheduler, slots A, B, and C. If you wanted to just fill out A and not B or C, you don't, it's honestly, it's up to you. If you wanted to make slot A, B, and C the same across the board and all have like 7 a.m. and then 8 to 10 hour duration from there, you would make them all consistently the same. Um,
And if, since it is access driven, Katie, if you did want to set everyone's profile settings, being the admin that you are, in the employee lookup table for everyone the way you wanted to see them, in the access template assigned to them, you can pull profile. So that way they would not then have that in that drop down when they would go to log out.
yes, yep, good point,
Not to be
Ryan.
the cold boss that I am of my little pest control company here, but times are tight.
Yeah. So those are some of our hidden gems of PestPac. We wanted to kind of, before we wrap up today's session, go through just the different resources that we have, our schedule for success. So we'll talk a little more about that.
So the schedule for success one, I mean, technically, like you guys coming to this today, this was part of February's whole theme here for schedule for success, part of the whole first quarter initiative. So if you are not that familiar with it yet, this is a very awesome thing to keep your eye on. When you log into community, it is the ninth tile down on the main tiles. And the schedule for success has all 4 quarters. So each quarter is going to have a main theme. Each month within is going to tighten up on that theme. And there's going to be something for just about every day. It might be something to ponder on for your PestPac. It might be scheduling yourself out for one of these awesome upcoming sessions. There's a lot of great ways to get more, not just out of PestPac, but out of your day-to-day overall in the pest industry here, and using PestPac to really kind of, get that extra bit that you can. Plus, for anyone new and acclimating to PestPac, this is a great resource to kind of keep wheels on the track, to kind of give you those insights as to, yeah, we wouldn't have made these ideas and options in here if they weren't things that we see constantly in the industry and things that people are already focused on that we can help everyone get aligned on.
Yeah, exactly. And then we
Now,
have our community.
the site itself, right?
Yes. So, as far as like scheduling goes and what we've talked about today, and any module, any area of PestPac really, you're gonna want to hop on over to that community site, which is what Ryan has highlighted in the middle. He actually drew the red border around schedule for success. So, within the community, we have forums, there's an FAQ section, there's learning resources. You can also see like our latest and greatest release notes of any like bug fixes or any changes that are taking place within PestPac as far as modules, anything that we've added on. So it really is your hub for everything PestPac. And we encourage you to go there first. You want to go there and utilize it as your resources. So if you get, new employees that need to be trained on certain areas of PestPac, you want to guide them to the community site because that is our free platform.
Gosh, I love that place. All righty. So now that we come to the end of today's session, let's take a look at our questions here. So if there are any other questions, feel free to throw them on in there. We do have another few moments to just answer some of the questions that have been coming in from everyone here. But see, the one that I saw was, with the mobile app, is it possible for the technicians in the field to see billing information? So when we looked at that access template, yes. So the billing information, if you want them to see prices and balances, that is an access right. All right. And the other was about the A, B, and C. So that was in the profile setting. And also, one did ask about the VRM service orders being able to edit service setups. So when you go over in Community, the resource for VRM, and it shows you how to do one of those projects, or if you're already familiar with VRM and how to create a project, when you make one out of the service orders, so let's say the upcoming orders for March, lassoed them up and put them on different dates and different technicians. When I go to commit that and have those date and technician changes happen, there will be an option at the end to pretty much commit permanently. It's going to say to update service setups. So you would actually be able to go ahead and have the changes that you made with the orders go back and impact the actual service setups as well.
Yeah, and
The
vice
service
versa
setup
too.
one actually has it the flip way too.
Yep, vice versa for
Yeah.
setups. So
Yeah.
if
So,
you
like, if
have
you
orders
already
active.
generated for the upcoming month and then you make a service setup project, when you go to commit it, you could say, and also include the orders, and that will update all the orders you generated to align with the new schedules and the setups.
Perfect.
I think that's actually one of the examples, like in the walkthrough video, that
Yes.
I've actually seen for that one.
Yes.
Alrighty, guys. So let's see here. We have some accounts that do not have 911 or GPS findable addresses. Is there a way to go for these locations? Yep. So yeah. So if you need to set it for, you don't have that person's exact, you would still, for the latitude and longitude, be able to find something nearby, like a nearby landmark, gas station, convenience store, anything like that. Something that would at least give a latitude and longitude. You can plug that in on the edit location and check do not read geocode. When do not read geocode is checked, the latitude and longitude won't change from what you put in there. You can make the address 123 Main Street then for billing purposes. I actually see it a lot of times happen for people who have PO boxes. So you need, like, they're not at the PO box. You need to put in the latitude and longitude for where they really are. Check do not read geocode, and then you're able to put in the PO box as the address fields for billing purposes.
Yes, and just to kind of that brought up another good point, Ryan. For those of you that service like apartment buildings and such, you need to make sure that you're putting like the unit and everything or the apartment, the unit number on the second address line. It's not going to look at the first address line. So you just put the physical address of like 100 Main Street, but then in the second address line, it would say unit, 105B.
True. I do like that. And the last one we have here, Katie, this one's a good one. Do you encourage leaving appointments locked to technicians? Some of your examples hinted at this during this. So I think it really depends upon skill set, business size, and customer base, really. Any other factors you can think of for that one, Katie?
It's a mix. I mean, if we're talking specifically route op, if you don't have route op right now, I'll tell you, if you were to get route op, I don't encourage anyone to lock anything. You would be utilizing route op constraints. But yeah, it kind of goes back to what Ryan said. It's based upon just your business needs. Like some companies always look, if you've been around for, 60 some years and your customers are used to always having technician Joe go out there, I have companies that say keep the work assigned to those current technicians. Like don't let it move between techs because if it does, Mrs. Jones is going to be so upset. She loves technician Joe. He's like family to her. So and you can have a mix or if you're changing your business process and it makes more sense for route up to optimize it to the best technician, then you could have it where you define certain accounts, certain setups that say, well, lock to this primary technician. So even though you're going to let route up move majority of the work around between techs, you can have it respect those accounts that don't want the technician to be moved. So you do have flexibility. But yeah, it really just comes down to preference and just kind of how you're running your organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like with route up and ones like that, that's why you go through an onboarding with our team. It's not just about the setup and the usage. It's also about acclimation to it for your usage, like how the functionality is going to play out for your intent and purposes here. So anyone's dealing with the address, definitely primarily, look to the latitude and longitudes on the accounts. And for any further questions, please, feel free to reach on out to us. Hit up the support team, check out the community site. We're going to be here to back you all up along the way with these, and always looking forward to answering any and all of your questions. Now, before we wrap it on up today, I did want to also say thank you very much to Katie for doing this webinar with me, since this will be Katie's last webinar for a few months as she is leaving us for maternity leave again. So I
Oh,
wanted
thanks,
to
Ryan.
publicly humiliate and congratulate her again on baby number 2 coming soon,
Thank you.
and wish her all the best on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I will miss you guys, but I will be back. So, for those of you that have worked with me in the past, you'll get to work with me again in the future. So,
All
all right,
right, guys. Well,
guys.
thank you very much for joining all of us today here, and we wish you all a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah, have a good one. Take care, everybody.